Hello. Today we look at the parable of the talents from the Paul Aguda Bible study. The talents you'll find in Matthew chapter 25 verse 14 to 30, but there is another variation which you'll find in Luke 19, but in Luke they use 10 slaves as opposed to Matthew, when relating the story, use 3. So I'm going to focus on that one of Matthew. It kind of makes sense to me that there are 2 variations of this tale, because in normal circumstances, if you would hear the story from someone, you would relate it to another person in a different way. It's just natural not to tell it as exactly how it was. So where Matthew and Luke are telling different stories, that sort of concretes it for me that they were actually listening to Jesus and relating his tale in the Gospels. In Matthew, it's about a master, wealthy man, who goes off on his travels and leaves his wealth to 3 slaves. The first slave, he gives him 5 talents, which is like coinage, if you like. So he gives him 5 and tells him to invest it and do well with it and make him more money. He does the same with the second, but gives him 2 talents. And the last servant, he gives them 1. And off he goes on his travels. And when he comes back, the first man tells him he's invested his money well and made double the profit. So he's now got 10. The second slave or servant has also doubled his money by investing well, and so the master is pleased with both those servants. But the third man, it tells him that because he was afraid of what the master would do, because he's worried about losing his money, he buries his money and doesn't make any profit. So when the master returns, the master said, well, why didn't you give it to the money transferers, whatever they're called, and so that I could gain interest on the money while I was away? And of course he didn't, so the master's very angry at him. So if you want to look at this parable from another viewpoint, what I'd say to you is that the master here is God. This is how Jesus is. Sometimes they're puzzling, some of these parables. You really have to look deeper into them. And so God is the master. And basically what he's saying to us, this message in this parable from Jesus, he's saying that it doesn't matter what you have, it's how you use it. And God will never give us more than we can deal with, more than we can handle. If we have problems and things, along the way in life, and we love God and we follow God and we're faithful, then God will treat us as the first man. He'll be pleased with us and he will give us more than we put in. And same with the second, but it's someone different to us, because we are all different. But the third servant, who didn't do anything with the lessons he was told and the stories in the Bible, he knew it was there, but he chose not to invest, not to increase his knowledge or to increase that wealth so that he gained more with God. And what God's saying, that when the time comes, when he comes back, he will be more happy with the ones who believe than the ones who don't, and the ones who don't follow the law of the word, as such, with the Jesus Gospels. He doesn't listen to them, he hasn't learned by them, he doesn't go to church, he doesn't read his Bible, or does all the things that he shouldn't be doing. So that's kind of like the message there, which is basically the fundamental message for me in this, is that it's not how much you have, but what you do with what you do have. So not how much you have, but how you use it. That is the fundamental message for this parable. Just to read you a little bit from the Bible, which I do like to do. it says in verse 30, and throw that worthless servant outside into the darkness where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. And the only thing I'll say about that is that I think it's really mean that they did that with the final servant. So there you go, we're gnashing teeth, and hope you enjoy this blog and have a nice day. Bye.